Black Mirror is back, and after binging the entire season, I can confidently say nothing has changed. The show remains very consistent with how inconsistent the quality of the episodes is, but nonetheless, the show remains very entertaining, and there's one specific episode that I need to talk about. It's probably my favorite episode the show has ever produced for all the wrong reasons, for how daunting and real it feels, how current the topic is, and that's of course episode 1, Common People, which follows a woman who needs a subscription service to survive. Put simply, someone took privatized healthcare and streaming subscription services and merged them into one spine-chilling, horrifying reminder that this is already happening, and we're letting it. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Eric, I have a stutter, and I like to talk. And if you watched my last video and you saw that I said that I was gonna binge The White Lotus Season 3 and do a review on it, I binged it, and I regretted my decision to commit to that because damn was I bored for the first half. And then once it got good, it got bad again with a shitty ending where they just killed all the wrong people. So let's shelve The White Lotus for now because I don't want to do it. Instead, let's get into Black Mirror, Season 7, Episode 1, Common People. In this episode, we follow Amanda and Mike, a regular couple who find themselves in a very particular extreme predicament, product of the dystopian future they live in, which feels less and less dystopian the more we think about it. He works as a welder, she works as a school teacher, and they've been trying to conceive for a while now, eager to expand their family. They're your average, typical couple. They pay their taxes, they obey the law, they never commit any crimes. They are contributing members of society. You'd be pressed to find anyone on the political spectrum with anything bad to say about them. Unfortunately, and after complaining about debilitating migraines, Amanda collapses and enters a coma from which she will likely never wake up. Scary right? Like, you live your life as a healthy person, make all the right decisions, never break the law, contribute to society, pay your taxes, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your life is turned upside down. Because illnesses don't pick and choose who to target. They just happen regardless if you're a good person or a bad person, if you're a contributing member to society or if you're a serial killer. I myself have seen how quickly your life can be turned upside down out of nowhere. Last September, my entire life got completely ravaged by a sudden medical issue that I was not counting on, I did not expect. There were no indications that that could happen. And then it did. But one thing I can tell you is I never feared going into medical bankruptcy over it because of universal healthcare. I spent 8 years not needing any type of medical treatment or services until last year. So though my taxes contributed to universal healthcare that I wasn't using when I most needed it, it was there because that's the point. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, if this had happened to me in the United States, in the situation that I'm currently in, I would have died. Unfortunately, in the United States, this is already a present reality people are living. So Mike is approached by Gaynor, a representative of a tech startup company called Rivermind Technologies, with an incredible offer. Rivermind can safely remove the tumor from Amanda's brain and replace it with synthetic tissue powered by their servers so she can resume life normally. It's a miracle service and quite literally the only thing that can save Amanda's life. And the surgery is free. Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds too good to be true. And that's because it is. There are, in fact, several caveats. First of all, the synthetic tissues are powered by their servers. That means that Amanda's brain will only work within coverage range offered by Rivermind. Think of it like a cell phone, right? You can only make calls or text people if you have service. And with Rivermind, Amanda's brain will only work as long as she stays within the area. She would also sleep an extra 1 to 2 hours a night, which is, fair enough. It doesn't sound like much of a punishment. You get to sleep more. And considering the alternative is leaving Amanda in a coma, presumably to die, it sounds like a pretty good deal. Now here's the big but. Even though the surgery is free, they will have to pay a monthly subscription fee of $300. It sounds steep, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck. $10 would have made a difference. $300 most times is unthinkable. And some of you may say, well, the technology is in its infancy, and they certainly need to recoup the costs to power the servers, so it makes sense that it's so expensive. Well, not really. I mean, we can already observe this in real life. Take insulin, for example, right? A vial takes about $2 to $4 to make, yet they're sold upwards of $300. Why? They're not charging that much to cover production costs. They're charging it because people have no choice but to pay for it, because there's nothing else that will keep them alive. Now, in Europe, that shit's free. My grandma had diabetes and she never once struggled to pay for her insulin. And she lived in poverty most of her life. But one thing she never did was fear death because of her diabetes. And insulin is just a mere example, a piece of the bigger puzzle that is the private healthcare industry, which makes millions in profits every year, all while thousands of people literally die just because they can't afford life-saving treatment that could quite literally save their lives. It's how you get Luigi Mangioni's going on vigilante quests, which ironically the media condemns more than the corporate violence enacted by these companies, because his violence is more tangible and corporate violence that condemns thousands of people to death is legal. Mike, of course, approves the surgery because that is quite literally the only way that he'll get his wife back. And when I said they live a humble life, I meant it. $300 additional a month is a lot of money. So we see Mike go above and beyond, taking extra shifts, working himself into the ground just so he can afford to keep his wife alive. Until, of course, things change. Roughly 1 year after the surgery, on their anniversary, they take their traditional yearly trip to this place where they always go, and as soon as they cross county lines, Amanda passes out. Mike turns the car around, and as soon as they enter county lines again, she wakes up, seemingly unaware that she just passed out, and as they come to find out through Gaynor of Rivermind Technologies, the area they were traveling to was initially covered by Rivermind Towers, but that's no longer the case because they are upgrading their coverage range. They're rolling it out nationwide just as Gaynor told him they would do in the future. What she didn't tell Mike is that to access this coverage, they would now need to upgrade their subscription tier. This is of course not mandatory, but if they don't, that means Amanda will no longer be able to leave county lines, which kind of sucks. And this is where the parallels with streaming services comes in. We've all seen Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus hiking up their subscription prices just so you can maintain the exact same viewing experience. They're not giving you anything new. They're simply allowing you to continue accessing all of the features at a higher cost. And you don't have to upgrade your subscription, but if you don't, you start seeing ads. You're not able to watch movies in 4K. You basically lose the service that you initially agreed to pay for. But it's not just streaming services. Look at private healthcare, for example. How many people have we seen being denied claims for services that they are supposedly paying for? How many stories have we read of anonymous employees of these companies that say their bosses encourage them to deny any and all claims just so the company isn't liable to pay for surgeries, treatment, medication, services that people sign up for, coverage that they supposedly have, surgeries they have because they are initially covered, only to find out later that actually because of a little typo or a processing error, or simply a change of circumstances, it's no longer covered. And now you're stuck with thousands and thousands of dollars in medical debt that will bankrupt you. And this is kind of what's happening to Mike and Amanda, because this new subscription tier, Rivermind Plus, costs an extra $500 a month on top of the $300 they're already struggling to afford. So they pass on the upgrade, understandably, and soon enough, much like an iPhone starts crashing if you don't update your iOS system, Amanda's brain starts crashing as well. First, the additional 1 to 2 hours she'd be sleeping every night start increasing slowly but surely to the point where she's sleeping 12 hours a night. And then, staying true to capitalism, because everything is an opportunity to promote products, much like Amazon is now shoehorning ads in the middle of movies that are supposedly free and included in your subscription, Amanda starts reciting ad messages brought to you by Rivermind.
You're like giving me like commercial fucking Tourette's?
That's right. They start running ads through Amanda, and the way it happens is quite hilarious. The ad messages are delivered by Rivermind and blended seamlessly into the conversations that Amanda is having. Think of it like AI drawing a person, right? It has the basis of a person, but once you start looking at the details, the hands, the nose, the eyes, it turns into a horror story. So the very first ad blends quite well with the conversation she's having with her husband about coffee, and she says, "Have you tried this one? It has a much richer and smoother taste." But soon enough, the ads delivered relate solely on specific words present in the conversation. For example, she's teaching her class about bees and suddenly gives them an ad for Honey Nugs. A student of hers confesses that his parents are getting divorced and his mom says his dad is dangerous, and she tells him to seek faith-based family counseling. And later, she's talking to her boss about this incident and gives her an ad for a mature matchmaking website, which is not the thing you want to say to your boss. And perhaps the most awkward happens mid-coitus as she whispers in her husband's ear about a lube that'll enhance their experience. This is all enough to put her at risk of losing her job because the ads are now interfering with her job as an educator. And the worst part is whenever she delivers an ad, she blacks out. So she has no idea what she's saying or for how long she's saying. She literally misses time. Luckily for them, Rivermind Plus can remove the ads, for the $500 extra. And Mike, desperate to help his wife keep her job, because if she loses her job, they're literally signs up to this streaming platform called Dumb Dummies, where users can live stream themselves doing stupid, dangerous stunts for cash tips. Stuff like putting your tongue in a rat trap or pulling out your teeth one by one with pliers. It sounds extreme, but if you think about it, Twitch streamers are already kind of doing that sort of stuff. They're putting themselves in incredibly dangerous situations for the views, for the likes, for the clicks, for the attention. Desperate times for Mike, normal times for today's youth. Luckily, the extra money that he makes on this platform is enough to cover the subscription for Rivermind Plus, and for a while, things start looking better and better. No, I'm joking. It just gets worse and worse. The ads are now gone, but Amanda continues sleeping more and more. Problem is, even though she's sleeping minimum 12 hours a day, she wakes up incredibly exhausted, like she's been sleeping, but not at all resting, which honestly, I think a lot of us can relate to. I certainly do. God, I miss resting. And this is because Rivermind Plus is now considered Rivermind Standard, and though she doesn't get ads, she does get sleep mode. And I just gotta say, Tracy Ellis Ross plays Gaynor, the representative for Rivermind, and she plays this role so perfectly. You just wanna lunge across the table, strangle her, and throw her into an incinerator. She's the perfect salesperson that's constantly selling you this bigger, better dream. You're fine now, but you could be better for just a little bit extra. And if you don't, that's fine. Your life will go to shit, but you'll still be alive. Gaynor explains to them that in sleep mode, the servers of Rivermind harness her spare processing capabilities to help with the overall workload, which means that while Amanda's sleeping, Rivermind servers are literally draining her brain of energy to power their servers. So she's paying for a service that requires her brain energy to work, but she's paying for it, which makes no sense. And if they decided to downgrade the tier, that means the ads would be back and she would be sleeping 16 to 18 hours a day. So sleep mode is now huge in the bottom tiers. Sick, right? But once again, there is a simple fix, and that is to upgrade their subscription once again, this time to Rivermind Lux. Rivermind Lux is truly the VIP package. No more ads, no more sleep mode, and it even comes with a phone app that allows users to control their emotions, their physical sensations, and access other users' abilities. She can increase her calmness, her serenity, her pleasure, her anger. She can skateboard, she can play tennis, she can do literally anything and everything, all for the very reasonable cost of $1,000 a month, on top of what they're already paying. So $1,800. Remember when they were struggling to pay $300 a month and now they have to pay 6 times that amount just for the same exact service? That's capitalism. Amanda storms out of the office because the price is simply too high to even consider, but Mike secretly purchases some temporary Lux boosters so that Amanda can enjoy the luxuries of Rivermind Lux for a short amount of time. They use this on their anniversary, and Amanda has the best time of her life. Everything sounds better. A shitty singer suddenly sounds like a professional artist. Sex with her husband is earth-shatteringly good. She gets a little bit too into it, to the point where Mike has to stop because he's freaked out. But that doesn't stop her from climaxing, because with Rivermind Lux, you can just sit back and enjoy an orgasm without having to move a muscle. It's the beauty of technology, and it could be yours for $1,800 a month. Purchasing the temporary boosters reminds me a lot of when people in real life struggle to pay the bills, but they treat themselves to a luxury item or a trip, a little holiday, something that makes life more enjoyable, less painful to go through. And it's usually met with this backlash from older generations where this is why you can't afford a house, because you're having avocado on toast. which sounds like the type of argument that people who've never had to struggle in their life would say. It's such a capitalist sentiment, right? You're basically saying you're only allowed to enjoy life and have a good time if you have a shit ton of money to spare. So, like, happiness is only available if you're rich. And if you're poor, you're bound to be miserable. It's just how life is. Work harder, make more money, and then maybe you can enjoy life like other people do. But back to the story, and Mike's colleagues find out that he's been live streaming himself on Dumb Dummies doing stupid shit. One of his colleagues leaves a screenshot of his live stream in the office, and Mike loses it, finally, some anger out of this couple, and he confronts his colleague. And in the altercation, his colleague trips and falls and is run over by a piece of heavy machinery. So Mike loses his job. At the end of their rope, they go back to Rivermind to basically beg them not to shut down their Rivermind Plus service, because if the ads come back, Amanda's going to lose her job. And with Mike temporarily unemployed right now, that would be a death sentence. And their argument is that they've been loyal customers for a while now. Surely Rivermind Technologies can show some leniency and help them out in these particularly very specific tough times they're going through, right? Wrong, because these medical corporations, these medical companies aren't here to provide medical services. They are here to profit off of your tragedy. So their request for leniency is refused. Rivermind Plus will be shut down until they're able to pay, and then, it'll be upgraded again. And the entire time, I wanted one of them to just attack Gaynor. I really thought they were going to go there, and one of them was just going to lunge at her and beat the shit out of her and then go to jail and, end of the episode. But that would have been cool. But that doesn't happen. They just leave the office, and we cut to a year later. A year later, Amanda and Mike look like shit. Mike's live streams have gotten increasingly dangerous. He's now pulling his own teeth. And Amanda is either sleeping 16 to 18 hours a day or stood in the kitchen delivering ads to no one. And this is such a great clear-cut example of why people absolutely hate billionaires, because there's no moral justification for this to be happening when there's other people that are hoarding copious amounts of wealth that they'll never ever be able to spend. First of all, it's impossible to be a billionaire and a good person. No amount of individual labor could ever justify earning billions. 1 billion of anything, first of all, is an outrageous amount. So to make at least $1 billion, pounds, euros, whatever it is, you have to exploit other people's labor. You can only get there through other people's hard work that you somehow are able to exploit because of the legalities of capitalism. And I think the most common argument I see for people supporting this system is that in their own delusion, they think that one day that could be them. One day they too will become billionaires, because if you work hard and you have good work ethic, you too can be ultra rich, which makes no sense. That is not how you become a billionaire. It's not through hard work and good work ethic. It's exploiting other people's labor. It's the only way. Amanda and Mike seem pretty beat down by life, and I think they've accepted that this is the end. So Amanda enjoys one last hurrah, 30 minutes of Rivermind Lux, so she can increase her serenity and feel at peace with her decision to go. And as time runs out, she starts with the ads again, and that's when Mike smothers her to death because she's blacked out, so she can't feel anything. And then he goes into his own room with a box cutter. And at first, I thought he was going to off himself, because I would. Honestly, in this situation, I would. But then I realized that in the background, you can see that he is actually live streaming on Dumb Dummies, which reminded me of another horrid step in this private healthcare system. Once the health issue is over, either because the person is cured or the person is dead, there's still the medical debt to take care of. They went through the treatment and they still died, and now the families are liable to pay the rest of the money back. And that means their entire financial future is absolutely ruined. And in this case, it could also be said that Mike has probably made a name for himself on this streaming platform, which means that in the real world, no one will hire him anymore. This is quite literally now the only way he has to make money to survive, to continue destroying his own body, his own existence, just to survive. All because he tried to save his wife. And the episode ends, and the story stuck with me, and the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got. Because if we think about it, this is already happening in real life. The private healthcare industry is already sentencing thousands of people to death. What baffles me is how many people continue to support this system. I've had the privilege of having always lived in countries with universal healthcare. Whenever I get sick, ill, or need a treatment, I don't immediately think, am I gonna go broke? Am I gonna die over a treatable illness? Never crosses my mind, because that would be barbaric. And this episode is horrible because it's the monetization of actual human lives. You know, they put a price tag on people's worthiness to live, and the price tag comes in form of a monetary value. And I'm sure for a lot of Americans, this seems absolutely normal because this is already the reality you live. But for people in developed countries that offer universal healthcare to their citizens, this sounds like some real dystopian shit. First of all, the United States is the only developed country in the entire world that doesn't offer universal healthcare to its citizens, which, aren't y'all the richest country in the world? And you can't even afford to keep your own people alive. Somehow they're all convinced that healthcare is the one thing their taxes should not fund, because somehow it'll only benefit the scum of society, the freeloaders, the illegal migrants. All the other services provided by the government on your tax dollars are completely removed out of the conversation, and it's just healthcare that suffers. It's saving people's lives is quite literally the worst thing that you can do, I guess. And then you go online and you say that universal healthcare should be a basic human right, and people call you a radical, unhinged leftist because believing in basic human rights for everyone is a radical value that will destroy society as we know it. And then the argument is always, oh, I don't want my tax money to go for other people's medical treatments.
What's the moral argument against universal health care?
So the moral argument is you can't force me to pay for something that I don't want to pay for. You can't just put a gun to my head and take money away from me because you think someone needs something. I would say it's much more effective to go through local communities, hospitals, and charities to take care of people than large government bureaucracies. I would rather have a free market system that would allow a healthcare system that would be more free market, that would allow people to choose what they want to buy when they want to buy it and have more transparency of cost, not the nonsense we have now and not the garbage they have in Canada or the nonsense in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark.
First of all, you're a monster. Secondly, your tax money is already funding subsidies and programs that only benefit private healthcare corporations. They get money from the government to help their clients. That money comes from your taxes. And not everyone has private healthcare. So like, by your logic, that's even more barbaric because everyone's taxes are paying towards these subsidies and programs that big corporations get to receive, not the population. And they say that it's to help lower the costs and make everything more accessible. They can make things more accessible by simply offering universal healthcare. Maybe cut some of the money you spend on military and save your people. Like, start from within. But also, your taxes already pay for so many things that you might not need or enjoy on a daily basis. But no one seems to complain about that. It's only when it's about helping someone else not die that people have a problem with their tax money being spent in certain ways. I don't get it. People seem to be more comfortable with their tax money funding international wars and conflicts that have nothing to do with them than they are with helping their fellow neighbor not die of diabetes. Taxes are there to provide services to the general population. Why is healthcare considered this luxury concept that you have to pay out of pocket, or you have to have a super hoity-toity job that offers private insurance? And then I hear people say, you have universal health care, but your waiting lists are so long. But at least we have the waiting lists. Also, you can still have private health care if there's universal health care in your country, right? Nothing is stopping you, and you'll probably end up paying less than you would in the United States. I've had private healthcare through most of my jobs in my adult life, and I can guarantee you I was still paying less taxes than Americans are without universal healthcare. It's idiots like, for example, Charlie Kirk that have a platform and continue spewing this dystopian capitalistic bullshit that ultimately benefits them because they are in a position where they don't need universal healthcare. They're all funded by billionaires and millionaires. Of course they don't want universal healthcare to be accessible. What baffles me is that people aren't waking up enough to realize it's all a scam to profit off of you, off of your life, off of your health. But let me know in the comments down below. Am I the only one freaking out about this episode? Are Americans watching this and thinking, yeah, just another Tuesday, whatever, moving on? Is that your reality? Because that sucks. Like, that stinks hole, butthole. It smells of caca. It's caca. And I hope this video reaches the wrong side of the internet, the defenders of private healthcare. I want to read their arguments in the comments as to why helping other people is so wrong and why their tax money should not help people survive. It should instead go to kill people internationally, because that's what the United States is known for right now. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are against this archaic system, a lot of people that live in the United States. And to those of you who are still fighting the good fight, I salute you. I wish you the best of luck. Everyone else out here is looking at you guys and thinking, damn, y'all need to get your shit together really fast, because it's getting embarrassing. It's getting embarrassing. And I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, support the channel. Also, follow me on my social media if you want. They're all linked down below. And until next time, stay safe, stay sane, stay stupid, and stay stuttering. Bye, guys.